But
Yes.
the good news is the Earnhardt connection carried on further with into 2001 when both Junior and Senior ran with us on the Corvette team at the Rolex 24 at Daytona in 2001, and that's where the friendship began, and the relationship for me with DEI began. And speaking with getting to know Dale Senior during that time he was with Corvette team. We tested at Sebring before Christmas, and getting to know them both, and then getting to know them both at the testing that was done at Daytona, plus the Rolex 24 weekend. It was, he talked about me getting in one of his cup cars, and then he was tragically killed a few weeks later. But the team did not forget, and that was. I mean, I had goosebumps thinking about it now when Ty Norris called in it was late spring of 03 to say, hey, Steve Park's hurt. Dale Senior always wanted you to drive for him and drive one of his cars, which we'd like you to drive the Pennzoil car for Sonoma Watkins Glen. And it was emotional then, and still is. But that was getting an opportunity to work with the team at DEI and certainly Ty Norris and Richie Gilmore, just terrific people, and getting to know Teresa a little bit, but certainly it's a regret not winning a cup race for DEI, but we did manage to get a win in what then became the nationwide series driving for Dale Junior. So that was a big one as well in Montreal in 2008.
Yeah, that's for sure. I was just wondering, when you talked with Earnhardt about, and vice versa, about driving for his team, did he say it was going to be a full deal, or was it a part-time thing?
Yeah, it was. I mean, there was talk of it being potentially a full-time thing, and at one point, I just we explored that a little bit as in I think it was 2000, and what I told Dale that you probably had to spend a little bit of time talking to my wife Lena. So he did. So he spent some time trying to convince her that this would be a good thing, and we were right in the middle of the start of a tremendous run of success for Corvette racing. Really, 2001 for the Pratt Miller team and Corvette racing. That was our breakout year. We got our first win in September of 2000, and then 4-car with Andy Pelgrim and and Frank Freon and Kelly Collins, they won Petit Le Mans. And then going into 2001, that was really the big breakout year because we got not only do we win the class, the Rolex 24 at Daytona in 2001, but we won it overall, which was incredible for a GT car. But those what I would call GT1 cars were incredible race cars, and certainly going, that was also the year that we got our first class win at Le Mans in June of 2001. So there was again big time breakout year, and just a tremendous to be part of it right from the ground up, and to be part of all of the firsts.
Yeah, I know what you mean. I did notice around that time that Earnhardt seemed awfully interested in road racers at that time because he made a similar commitment to Andy Pilgrim that was similar to you, but Pilgrim would ultimately drive for Junior down the road and probably would have won Montreal if Robbie Gordon and Marcus Ambrose had not gotten into it. Because before it became Harvick's race, I noticed in the video that Pilgrim was actually ahead, barely, but then cut a tire, and that allowed Harvick to pass. And that was the race that Robbie Gordon celebrated with a burnout alongside Kevin Harvick.
Yep. I was driving for Kevin then in 2007. And it was one of the late race restarts, and I was actually, my recollection was being right in the thick of it, but on the restart got turned completely sideways in turn 2 at Montreal by, I'm pretty sure it was Scott Pruitt, but he was I think he was run into by Kevin Harvick. But anyway, it was always entertaining to race there, because it's really a temporary circuit, and lots of heavy braking, and which leads to a fair amount of contact on a regular basis. So it was inevitable that people were going to get run over. So you just have to, if you're lucky enough to survive the restarts, you were going to be in good shape. And that one I didn't.
Yeah. You know what I heard from someone that I know? I know somebody who's Canadian that told me they were at that race, and you might not remember, or maybe you will, but you were sponsored by the same sponsor of Robbie Gordon's car that day, campingworld.com. And he told me that during the final laps, he was applauding and clapping when he saw the Robbie Gordon burnout because he thought you had won as a Canadian.
Oh, I know.
And then he was crushed when he found out the truth. Well, it was, good for Kevin. That was a big win for him. And back in those days, the road racing in the how I should say road racing, but the Cup Series was just getting that much more competitive. And a number of the the up and coming drivers and those who were in serious contention to win a championship, you couldn't take a weekend off for the 2 road races. You need to prepare, and so that's why you saw a number of drivers competing, and to this day you'll see them running the road courses again to get the practice. And Kevin was no exception, and became a great road racer. Yeah, definitely. I did notice that in your NASCAR statistics that there were a couple races you missed at both Sonoma, and I think there was also a Watkins Glen one you missed. Was that because you didn't have the funds for those races, or was it because you had commitments in sports cars that conflicted with the weekends?
Yeah, it didn't happen very often, but it was occasionally there were conflicts. For a number of years, Sonoma was the week after Le Mans, and Watkins Glen was in between ALMS events back then, and it I don't remember what year, but there was a couple of times where, there was a sports car commitment, and back then it was a very different atmosphere. There was plenty of money flowing in the Cup Series, and I was really fortunate to get hired, and they the teams paid very, very well, and plus the prize money was excellent as well. So no, it was a great opportunity for me to not only do something I really loved to do, which was road race, and certainly all three NASCAR series were a ton of fun to race, just because of the closeness of the competition, and the paycheck was pretty good too.
Yeah, for sure. Did you ever have moments behind the wheel in sports cars or NASCAR in general where someone nudged you or ran into you and you responded with the classic? I have to censor it legally for my fan base.
Yeah. I don't. Yeah. No, I don't think. I don't know if I actually flipped anybody off or not. I don't remember. I know there were a few heated moments with post race where you grab a hold of somebody's, they got their visor open and you're not happy, to grab them by the chin of the helmet. But not fortunately, not too many. I made a point of particularly in the NASCAR racing that to try to be as absolutely clean as possible making passes, because you didn't want to have any retaliation, just because the limited road races that I was doing meant so much to me. Whether it was especially Watkins Glen, that was for me that was my Daytona 500, and whether it was trucks or again Busch Series back then, and Cup Series, I would not get into it with somebody. I was on the receiving end a couple of times, but it was, you just didn't want to give anybody a reason to run you over. And that's why it was back when in the majority of the time that I spent in NASCAR, they were single file restarts, which helped some. The double file restarts, which was probably, when did that come into play? I'm going to guess and say maybe 06 or 07, maybe 08, something like that. I could be wrong, but whenever they were introduced, that was for a guy who's part time and is in there for just the one or two races, whether it was Nationwide, Xfinity, or Cup. You you dreaded the late race restarts, just because there's just so much chaos, and it generally was nerve-wracking for the double file restarts when you're in contention to win, and you're not going to the next race.